Excited to have you guys here today. We are going to be talking about all things AI, but more specifically, how do we make AI easy and through practical approaches by really dialing up or turning on that AI engine in marketing. So I am one of the co-hosts, Natasha Ness. I head up our go-to-market division over at Shift, and my co-host is...
I'm Emma Warlow, and I head up our Insights Analytics practice here at Shift.
So what we are going to do is a little bit about us, just so you know who it is that's even talking to you today. Then we're going to spill some tea on all things AI, talk a little bit about what the market is saying. Then we're going to go high level through our AI maturity model at Shift. From there, we're going to talk about how you help assess and determine if your team is ready to really dive into the next topic, which is a pilot program. And then finally, we've got some really fun key takeaways. So that's the ride that you are all on. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So first, our obligatory about us. So who on earth is Shift if you don't know who we are? We are a marketing technology consultancy and agency who's been around for a couple decades, as you can see here. We've got over 4,000 technology implementations and major complex projects under our belt over the last several years. And we have well over 200 employees that are based in the US, Canada, and India. And we've done a lot of really cool work with a lot of wonderful clients. As you can see here, this is just a very small sampling of them. But because we're constantly keeping a pulse on the market, making sure that we're helping organizations really bring their business to life through the lens of their technology, we are always evolving our capabilities and really kind of expanding what it is that we do here. So excited to have you guys see just a little sampling of that in some of our AI work and some of our AI coaching right here in the session. So I'll pass the mic over to Emma.
Thanks, Natasha. So let's spill some tea on AI. And before I get kicking off, I wanted to just remind everybody, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A chat at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try and answer them. We'll have some time at the end to review those questions, and if we haven't answered them as we've gone through. So please use that Q&A chat at the bottom of your screen. So let's talk about AI. What do we mean, and why are we here? So first off, we're here because we're marketers. And so we're going to start off with a stat for you around marketers and AI. So 50% of marketers believe that inadequate AI adoption is holding them back. And I think, chances are one of the reasons you're here today is because someone in your organization has said, hey, we should be doing more AI, or you said it yourself. And I think there's a lot of marketers are struggling with getting going. And so we know it's important to marketers, but they're struggling with truly getting it adopted. And so that's what we're here to talk about today. We want to make sure you have some practical advice for doing that. But as getting started, we want to think about, what do we mean by AI? So, we turn to IBM because they're a good place to get a definition. And IBM defines AI, or artificial intelligence, as technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human intelligence and problem-solving capabilities. I really like the word simulate in there because I think it's really important that we remember that. While AI is getting better and better all the time, it's getting more and more able to do all sorts of things, it is still only simulating human intelligence. It isn't human, and it is fundamentally it is machine-based, and it's leveraging what the machines can do for us, and it's amazing. We can do all sorts of great things, but it is simulating. I think the best quote I heard the other day was somebody said to me that AI has made them appreciate art so much more, appreciate art made by humans so much more, because AI can generate art, but it lacks the soul. And I thought that was a good way of describing that simulation. AI specifically can come in a lot of different forms. We like to say it's a bit of a chameleon. There's lots of different forms of it. And so I'm going to kind of describe 4 different types of AI. Truthfully, there's lots of different ways of defining different types of AI. Some of these can overlap in some places, so I don't want you to get too hung up on the types, but I want to just kind of give you a bit of an overview of, when we say AI, some of the things we mean. Many of you, and probably the first exposure many people had to AI was tools like ChatGPT. And those tools fit in a class called generative AI, and often leverage what we call a large language model. And essentially what they are is they're AI that's creating something new. They're creating text, they can create images, they may create code, but the idea is that they leverage existing content and reorganize it, if you like, to create something new. And that's what we call generative AI. Machine learning is another very common type of AI, and it's actually been around a long time. It's in being enhanced all the time, but it's been around a long time. And essentially what machine learning is doing is these are systems that leverage past experience to predict or to associate what the right thing is or the next thing is. So, for example, we use machine learning in marketing to predict who might be a good respondent to a campaign. We might use it in other areas. One of the most common or most interesting and innovative uses of machine learning at the moment is in healthcare. We're starting to do things like, hey, I can take a picture of a mole on my arm. I can run it through an AI, and which will tell me what the likelihood of it being something that a doctor should look at, that there may be cancer there. Those kind of machine learning algorithms are leveraging past things we've known in the past. We've looked at lots and lots and lots of other moles and decided which ones are cancerous. And now we can use that to predict or to understand whether this one might be or not. Reinforcement learning is kind of a subset of machine learning, truthfully, and it's really around helping machines, training machines to make decisions through a series of choices. One of the places we see this very heavily used is in things like self-driving cars. They're using reinforcement learning all the time to help people make decisions or help the car make a decision as to how to move forward and where to move and how fast to go and all those things. And then the final one, which perhaps I needed today with my stumble at the beginning, is natural language processing. So natural language processing is systems that help us basically use and interpret human language. They're the chatbots we have. The Alexas of the world are all using natural language processing. And essentially, what's interesting and what's exciting about NLP today is it's starting to not only understand, or not only kind of look at the words and understand what the words mean, but it's also understanding the sentiment and the context under which those are spoken. And that's critically important. So natural language can be written, it can be verbal, but it's all around how do we take human language and teach the computer what to do with it. We go to the next one. I'm going to launch a little poll here because we're talking a lot about AI, and what I wanted to kind of get a sense of is what you think about AI. So today, the stat is that nearly 80% of American workers use some type of AI for their work, but less than 7% use it on a daily basis. And so I'm going to launch a little poll because I'd love to understand where you guys fit in this place. Let me find where it went. Poll here. Okay, can you see that? Hopefully you can see that. I want to know whether or not you use AI for your work today and how often you use it.
We got a lot of yeses.
You do.
Got some dailies and some occasionallys. We got a no, a couple no's. Okay. Weekly. It's a good blend. We got some good
We're actually very similar to the average. So, right now we're still collecting a few more answers, but we look pretty similar to the average, which is we've got about 75% of the people on this call who use it for their work. And about a little bit more frequently, about 43% are using it daily. So you guys are a little bit ahead of the average American, which doesn't totally surprise me given that you're here today. All right. So let's talk a little bit specifically about AI in marketing. So we've talked a lot about different kinds of AI, but let's talk specifically about AI in marketing and why it's so powerful for marketers. I like to think about sort of three main areas where it's really powerful for marketers. The first is uncovering hidden insights. Marketers are, often have access to huge amounts of data about customers. We have a lot of information about what's worked in the past and what hasn't. And AI is helping us uncover the insights, helping us uncover what do we know about the types of customers who behave in a certain way. What do we think the next thing we should offer this customer is? How can we personalize the campaigns that we're sending out? And so AI is really helpful in uncovering those insights. It's also really helpful in one of the, the areas that AI is being used in all sorts of industries, and marketing is no exception, is in improving efficiencies. So AI helps us replace some of those repetitive tasks that we do. It helps us make sure that the way we do our work is more efficient and more, we just spend our time on the right things instead of spending our time on the mundane. And then finally, the third area where we see AI being used a lot in marketing is in boosting speed to markets, basically allowing us to make decisions much more quickly than we've been able to in the past. So we're using it in areas about how do we decide how to allocate our marketing dollars, how do we change campaigns on the fly in real time, and it's just leading to faster results, which again, because we can make those decisions much faster, leads to more powerful and better results. And so AI has been a really powerful tool for marketers. there are lots of specific use cases, some of which I talked about in the last slide, but I think there's lots of specific use cases that we can think about when we think about AI. I wanted to kind of just give you a sense of how broad the use cases can be. And I'm going to make you do one more poll just to ask you, what about your use cases? And when you think about AI today, let me go back to the poll. When you think about what you want to do, so you came to this webinar for a reason probably, and you're thinking about what you might want to do. Whoops, sorry, stop sharing that. I want to relaunch the poll, sorry. I want you to think about what use case you're most likely to apply it to first. And when you think about these use cases, they're quite broad, and there's lots of things you can do within them, but I'm curious as to where you think you'll probably most likely to apply them.
You see some content creation. I saw somebody put R&D, but then it disappeared. Self-service analytics, staff productivity. I think that's great. Customer experience, enhanced targeting. Excellent.
I love that there's variety here. This is great.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, so we've got a really good mix and blend of the different, across the board in terms of some of these use cases. So I think that's super important. So, I think we've established AI can really help marketers. It can help marketers do a number of things, but one of the things it can really do is help you free up your bandwidth and your budget, and really allow your team to be more strategic and more focused. But one of the things we like to say, and one of the things that I think is important to think about, and I hope the rest of today's session will help us think about this, is, many of you are probably here or have thought about this because someone in your organization has said to you, we need to use AI. And what are you doing about AI in marketing? And those are common refrains. And a lot of our customers come to us saying, we're supposed to use AI. So one of the things we want to really do today is help you ground yourself in the right decisions around using AI. And so we like to call that avoiding random acts of AI. We don't want you to just go use AI for the sake of using AI. We want you to use AI to to enhance your marketing and create more impactful campaigns and a more impactful experience for your customers. So I'm going to turn it next to Natasha, who's going to give you a few more practical examples and help you kind of understand the sort of spectrum of things available in AI.
Yeah, and one thing that in that last slide, and as we kind of go through here, I mean, I think a lot of organizations are looking to leverage AI to save money. It is no secret that, the market has certainly impacted so many businesses. And so I believe that some of the things we're going to walk through right now are a great efficiency answer and a great cost saving answer, but also help boost speed to market, and a number of other, great items that Emma just brought up. So if you know me, then I say this statement probably very religiously around eating an elephant a bite at a time. I feel the very same way about AI. You do not need to go in and start creating this uber complex chatbot experience. Start small, scale from there. And so that's exactly what we're going to talk about with kind of our growth model from an AI perspective. So we believe that there are at minimum 4 levels of growth, at least from a marketing lens. And what we're going to specifically talk about is utilizing AI for content generation, for data, and engagement, right? And from an engagement standpoint, marketing automation, ESP, things like that. So across these levels, we've got first level number 1, which is enablement, level number 2, enrichment, level number 3, empowerment, and level number 4, evolution, evolve. And so let's go ahead and just dive right in to what we all mean by this. And so starting off first, we recommend taking some baby steps. I find this AI baby very adorable, but I have been told that they are not as adorable to some folks, but hopefully you're actually enjoying even some of the AI generated images that we've put throughout this presentation. But really, this is where you're going to start doing some baby steps in AI. I am going to assume most of you have already done this step, but really it's all around utilizing some of the tools, primarily on the Gen AI standpoint, the generative AI standpoint, and doing things like brainstorming campaign titles, proofreading or optimizing your existing content, finding and curating SEO metadata off of page content, looking for references and resources throughout your research processes, and then using in-system features to generate content or to edit content. This is also the phase if you're looking to go a little bit further down the maturity curve and try and do some really technically focused AI solutioning, where you're going to start identifying some of your data dependencies, because there might be a case that you're using AI internally and not necessarily these third-party tools, and you just need to know what you've got going on from a data and a compliance standpoint. So here's a couple examples of that. We'll go through a couple different tools that you can start playing around with. So what I'm showing here is a Microsoft Copilot notebook. It is very similar to Google Gemini or ChatGPT or many of the other various solutions like that. But let's say you're in the process of doing a white paper and you are looking to understand statistics. You need some rich data to drive the content creation that you're after. This is a great solution for that. Perplexity is another great solution for that. And so what you see here is a very detailed prompt, which we would highlight and recommend you start standardizing your prompts. And we'll talk about prompt recipes in just a second. And then you can start seeing things like statistics. So this is something that's been great to see evolve in AI over the last couple years, where there's actual statistics that we can go back to, and they're relevant statistics to the ask. They are actual good sources, as opposed to how maybe ChatGPT was, probably about 2 years ago, where it was actually mocking statistics. And so now you can actually get true pullout of statistics and references that you can then put into your white papers. And also you can even get some ideas. So this is an example of, here's a tactic to go after this type of audience. And so think of this as your co-pilot. Think of this as your buddy that's giving you some guidance as you're working through this campaign. So that's one option. Another option you're going to start seeing across many of your tools is, if you haven't already, is a lot of beta AI capabilities around almost micro assistance or content assessment. So what I'm showing here is Miro. And so you can see, as you just hover over to content block, it will give you a number of capabilities that allow you to do things like translate to a different language, change the tone if you set up your brand capabilities and your brand voice and tone ahead of time, shorten or fix grammar. You can do that in Canva. You can do it in a lot of different tools. So that's kind of step one. Those are very easy table stakes options for implementing AI within your day-to-day operations that will create some speed, some efficiency, and get you going. So the next stage is where we put a little bit of spices in the mix, and that's where we'll talk about enrichment. And so this is where we dial up the content lever and the content opportunities here. So start thinking about ways to either craft large form content or draft a outline or something short and then ask a solution to expand it further through a structured format. You can also, some of my favorite things to do is convert one format to another. So let's say there is a video that is kind of old but has some really relevant content, importing that video into a solution, and then saying, hey, convert this into a series of social media posts, or convert this into a blog and 3 social media posts, plus an SMS. That is a great way to do content repurposing. And if you're in content marketing, then content repurposing and content atomizing is a big thing. But with the add-on of generative AI, it's really grown, and it's really given the content marketer a lot in their toolbox. And then we start talking about data and insights. So really where a lot of Emma's team does incredible work. And so one of the powerful things I think AI is able to do is automating kind of that data entry process. So let's say you know that you have not the best integration processes between one system to another. If you're able to leverage AI to do things like enrichment, transforming the data in the right way, then use it. Obviously work with the team on that, but that is going to help speed up and reduce the technical challenges from a data perspective. But then there's also some in-system, in-platform optimizations you can dial on and turn on, such as send time optimizations. You can turn those on in things like Braze, Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And then Marketing Cloud has excellent AI-enabled capabilities from a reporting standpoint around messaging insights and audience insights that we highly recommend you take a look at. So this is yet another example more on the visual side, where you can see how pretty detailed prompts can generate any sort of imagery from illustrations to graphics. And then a lot of the visual tools out there and content tools out there have really dialed it up a notch by, doing things like removing backgrounds, removing pieces, and then even making a visual match your branding, as you can see we did here. As a designer, it is crazy the amount of empowerment I feel, amount of enrichment I feel to get something done quicker. And so, these capabilities are really allowing us to do so. I brought up content repurposing. Here is an example of how you can take our AI guide, which is going to be something we'll send as a follow-up, and ask to convert it into multiple pieces. And so what we did is exactly that. We converted it into multiple pieces, had it give us a takeaway, and then the ability to either download it or integrate it to, things like Google Docs. The next level is empowerment. So this is really where you start building some good standards so that the organization and your team is all playing off that same playbook. So we call that, kind of a prompt recipe book. This is where you'll start building out templates and frameworks that you can get right into your GPTs, or you can have them independently. But start applying your branding standards, start applying your voice and tone from a content perspective, and start really embracing governance and enablement across the organization around how to best utilize AI. This is also where you might want to introduce some more bespoke tools that might be helping you, again, create some more efficiency. Where things get really exciting is where you can start, using some of the amazing features in a lot of marketing automation solutions, such as predictive lead and engagement scoring that's available in Salesforce Marketing Cloud that allows you to see at a glance really what's going on with your prospects, your customers, your users, and then what's the next best actions to do from there, but also the scoring that we're getting based on historic customers that look just like them. So this is really where you start doing that. And a lot of what our clients do today is also some dynamic content generation based on, a blend of curated data, visuals, automated tagging, which is another great feature in several solutions like Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and then deploying dynamically. So this is an example of a custom GPT that you can pick up off the shelf, or you can create your own, build some standards. So if you have a specific format that you want to maybe wireframe your pages or write a piece of content, build out that custom GPT, and then every single time it will come back in that same format. Another great example, like we just brought up, is around engagement scoring. So over on the left, you'll see how Salesforce Einstein is really amplifying data, efforts from a marketing perspective through highlighting next best actions in app. This doesn't require a tremendous amount of code, which is really great. We haven't even gotten to the more complex evolution stage, but it will allow you to see predictive insights, what you need to do, what don't you need to do, and really give you the best next steps for how to improve your campaigns, how to dial up your content, and do some automated changes on their own. Another example here is Optimove, but a lot of other platforms also do these type of capabilities where it's giving you a glance at, how individuals are engaging, where is the spending going, how can you improve response time and projected revenue from a personalization standpoint. So it's all about predicting based on historic data and what's happening today, and then what to do tomorrow. And then finally, on the examples for this level is how might you use, dynamic personalization through omni-channel experiences to really deploy some killer campaigns and reduce the amount of manual effort that you have to do to create custom campaigning. And so what you're seeing here is just a visual from Braze, but this is applicable to Marketo if you're wanting to use the dynamic content feature and segments there. This is highly applicable through Salesforce Marketing Cloud if you're wanting to use all of the dynamic capabilities there, and then of course Braze. But the great thing here is if you want to switch out various images, if you want to make content and products dynamic, you don't need to mutate APIs to do that anymore. There are out-of-the-box features that are within the systems that you're using today that will allow you to do that, and allow you to really drive the right type of message at the right time to the right audience, based on historic insights and based off what the engine's predicting what to do next. So then finally, the what to do next, the evolution, this is where things get even more spicy. And some of this stuff is pretty big, right? So automated detection of data anomalies. How do you automate and deploy without even really reviewing sales cadences based on what has performed previously very well? How do you integrate existing AI tools that everybody knows and loves into your day-to-day knowledge management, base, and figure some of those things out? And then how might you, really drive AI-powered conversational marketing and customer success experiences? So speaking of that, here's another great example of that. Now, there are lots of chat tools that are out there that are using NLP. As Emma brought up earlier in the conversation, this is an example of how you can use, for example, Azure Health Bot in the healthcare space in a very secure and private manner to have great customer communications with consumers and patients, and then decide how best to route them to providers and physicians. And it's using several AI capabilities throughout this ecosystem. But from a user standpoint, they're just seeing the chat that they need to communicate to. But on the back end, it's powered by a ton of great technology, a ton of great data that's working. And this is not an overnight thing. This is something that eat an elephant a bite at a time, and it will scale and scale and scale from there. I have been talking a lot. I'm going to pass this to Emma, who's going to wrap up this section, and then she's going to kick off the next one, and she'll talk a little bit about next best actions here.
Sure. Thanks, Natasha. Yeah, this is another example. And again, in the interest of time, I won't spend a lot of time on it. But essentially, one of the other things, as Natasha points out, we can get very predictive and very sophisticated with our AI tools. And this is one example of what they call next best action. So this is in this case, this is using a Salesforce module called next best action. But you can build this in many other AI tools. But the idea here is really taking that full 360-degree view of your customer and really building the right actions for the right customer at the right time. So it's suggesting, in this case, going through a call center or through a service that it's saying, I'm going to offer you this product at this time. One of the key features of these kind of more AI powered next best action is the ability to capture the response. And so here in the screen, it asks, would you like an increased line of credit? And the person either accepts or rejects it. And this could be done by the call center agent or the salesperson. But now we have more information to power the next action. So now we not only know what we knew in the past, but now we also know that the last time they didn't take the line of credit when we offered it to them. And so then the next time that is going to be a different action based on that new information. And so it's a continuous learning loop as we get better all the time. So Natasha gave us a ton of great examples of it's the ways we can use AI. But what I wanted to do is just kind of bring us back for a second to, before you launch AI in your organization, I want us to think a little bit about, are you ready to do it? And we like to think about sort of 5 main areas where when we think about whether or not you're ready to take on AI in the organization. And so I'm going to just touch on each of these 5 areas for a moment. So the first one is interest. So let's start it's really important before you start any kind of major AI initiative to step back and assess, where's my team at in terms of AI? How open are they to AI? How enthusiastic are they? Do they use ChatGPT in their home life? Do they use that for work today? Are they interested? Are they terrified? We'll find, in some organizations, people are just very frightened of what it's going to do. Am I going to lose my job? Is this, what's it going to mean for me? And so understanding where they are is really important before you embark on any AI initiative. Figure out if they're excited and enthusiastic already, great. If they're not, think about some of the things you can do to help bring them along. Get them using these tools in their day-to-day lives, perhaps in an informal way. Do a team event where you use ChatGPT to do something. Get them realizing the power and feeling a little bit more comfortable with it. Equally, think about when you think about which initiatives you want to launch first. If you've got a graphic designer who is, and a team of graphic designers who are very worried about their jobs, you probably don't want to start with AI generated images, right? But you might want to start with how can we make their jobs easier through AI, and perhaps we can automate some of their more routine tasks so they can spend more time creating interesting images. So thinking about that is it's important to level set with your team and make sure they're all on the same page and you have that enthusiasm around it in order for it to be a success, because like anything else, otherwise the change management is unbelievable. The second thing we talk a lot about is the capability, and I think Natasha's touched on a bunch of these examples in the previous slides in terms of, do you already have some of this capability in-house already? Are you already paying for some of these tools? Do you have these tools within the products you already license, whether it's Marketo, or whether it's Salesforce, or whether it's one of the other tools you have? Do you already have some of these tools? And if not, do you have well, even if you have them, do you have the budget to be able to do what it is you want to do? So making sure you assess that capability before you get started is obviously always important to make sure you can fund this stuff and build the business case for it. The third thing we talk about being ready for is, do you have the expertise to do it? So it's one thing to say, hey, we've got some tools we could turn on. Do we really understand those tools? Do we understand what the AI is going to do? And if not, if we don't have that expertise in-house, do you have partners and agencies or folks that you work with who can help you through the process? And making sure you're assessing where their capabilities around these types of things is a really important step in assessing your readiness. The next one is capacity. Obviously, like any new project, do you have the bandwidth to take it on? And if not, how are we going to free up some bandwidth from something else, or how are we going to find partners to help us make sure we can spend the dedicated time on this project? And then our final one is fundamental to all AI. So AI is built on data. And so it is an very important part of your readiness to understand, what data do I have to support these objectives? And that's everything from like, do I have enough data? So Natasha mentioned Salesforce send time optimization. One of the things we talk about sometimes with clients is, if you've only ever sent a newsletter on a Thursday of 3 o'clock, you don't have a lot of data in which to power a prediction as to what's the best time for you to send your newsletter. So we need to make sure, do we have the data we need? Do we have access to it? And is there enough of it? And then of course, if we have it, how good is it? What's the quality of that data? Is it accurate? Can you trust it? Are you going to be comfortable making decisions based on how it was collected and how old it is and all those kinds of things? You got to think about the data quality. And then finally, compliance. One of the things that we have to keep in mind, and we always have to check with our privacy folks and our governance folks, is in terms of, are we actually able to use the data for our intended purpose? So if we, had a privacy policy, say we collected the data for one purpose, is this new application within the rights of our privacy policy? Are we going to have any issues legally? Are we going to have any issues with our own policies around using the data this way? And so thinking about that data and that data foundation is an important part of understanding how ready you are to begin. But once you've started to think about that, we recognize a lot of these things still fail. 92% of AI related projects fail, and they fail because they're poorly implemented. And 4 key things. So one is that, let's be honest, it's because they haven't really thought about the readiness there. But if we could categorize the 4 main reasons why they fail into 4 things. One is unrealistic expectations. If you think your AI is going to solve all the problems in the world and you don't have to do anything behind it, you're going to run into problems. We can all look at examples of chatbots gone wrong, where they start, spewing profanities and various things because people thought, I can just turn it on and not worry about it, not think about it, not put in place the right safeguards because I think it's perfect. It's going to do what I want. The data we've talked about already is another main reason they fail. Lack of clear business goals. What are we trying to do and why are we doing it? Because if you don't truly understand that, if you're just implementing, it goes back to our comment about random acts of AI. If you don't have a clear business goal, you're not going to get a clear business result. And then finally, similarly around the random acts is we often get sucked in by shiny new technology. We're focused on what's there. Oh, look, we can use this button, or this vendor came and showed me this cool new tool, instead of stopping and saying, what's the business value for us? And so those are kind of primary reasons why they fail. They might fail, but this is definitely the time we need to start thinking about doing this. If you're not already implementing AI, we really need to start thinking about it now, if it's not already too late. Part of the best way to do that is to start thinking about, how do we get There we go. So we know that 45% of organizations have seen an increase in AI investment since ChatGPT came around. So everybody's now thinking about it. So time is right. But that being said, only 19% of organizations are currently running a pilot. And I think that speaks to the fact that while everybody thinks they should do it, not everybody knows how. So I'm going to turn it back to Natasha to talk a little bit about pilots and how you get started on one of those.
Yep. So we are going to wrap this whole webinar up by helping enable you with the tools that you need to start your own AI pilot if you haven't already had an organizational embracement of AI in one way or another. So the most successful pilots are going to start with these three things, and there are a whole lot of other things that we're going to talk about in just a second, but set your clear objectives. Why are you using AI? Why do you want to use it? Make sure everyone's on the same page there. Now, how are you going to measure success of this pilot and ensure that it's available to scale from them? And then from there, what are some of the use cases that you're trying to tackle? Don't boil the ocean. Again, eat an elephant a bite at a time. So start thinking of some of those use cases, and then start going from there. So I am not going to read every line on here, but what we've got here is a list of use cases that you can start thinking of. These are many use cases the markets are thinking of, that our clients are thinking of. Select 1 to 3 max for your AI pilot, and then see the successes of that specific pilot more explicitly. Then, as Emma was talking about earlier, you need to understand how the team is feeling and ensure that there's alignment there. So what we recommend doing is establish a team for your pilot. You as that leader, likely someone from your IT, data, or ops team, somebody else on your team. But once you've identified that use case, figure out who that pilot team is, make it small, but make it aligned. And if there is a requirement of budget there, then get some sort of procurement or finance alignment as well throughout this process. As we talked about earlier, in terms of capability, consider your stack. So if you're able to actually work within your existing stack, that's great. That's going to make the case further. However, if you also need to consider a new technology that needs to be brought in here, look at that from a security standpoint, a compliance standpoint. And again, that's why having a data ops or IT partner in the mix is going to be beneficial as you're really determining the right technology there. So again, we've got...
Sorry to interrupt, Natasha. I was going to say one of the questions in the thing was about whether Marketo and Adobe also had similar capabilities. And I think we just can confirm, yeah, there's all sorts of great AI coming out from there as well. And I know we just talked about Braze and Salesforce here, but I don't want to dismiss the new capabilities that is bringing.
And I'd say Marketo has some capabilities on the horizon, some capabilities that are live today. I would say Adobe Journey Optimizer has more so, and then some of the other Adobe platforms even more so. So Sensei is an excellent capability that's built from a search perspective across AEM. So, and Customer Journey Analytics also has some wonderful predictive insights in there. So the Adobe suite in general has some excellent AI capabilities. If I'm going to be honest, Marketo, in comparison to Salesforce Marketing Cloud, in comparison to Braze, is a little behind the curve. And as Emma brought up earlier, time is now. And so some of the other ESPs, marketing automation solutions, are just going a little faster from an AI optimization and deployment standpoint, but Marketo does have some features. And so to that point, here are some of those technologies and some of their use cases. So as you're thinking about a pilot, you can grab one of these and immediately throw it into your plan. So, things, for example, such as using Chorus. If you guys aren't using Chorus today, highly recommend it. Get it stood up. It's got plenty of AI capabilities, listening to the calls, providing recommendations, and then having that integrated in Salesforce CRM. If you want to, for example, use Speechify, Speechify is a great tool that helps reading large sums of content and helps you get even faster in the mix. If you're wanting to implement it in your MOPS tool, I highly recommend it, and we can help you. And so these are several of those tools that you can leverage that. Adobe Target, another excellent solution on the Adobe Suite side that you can really utilize some great AI capabilities there. And there are so many more. Sprout Social, from a social perspective, is also really pioneering some excellent AI capabilities around analytics, deployment, and content. So Many, many, many things out there. But the main thing is once you know what you want, put it on paper, put a plan on a page, make sure everyone's aligned with it, all of the things we talked about, in addition to timing, budget, and kind of circulate that within the organization. So everybody's aligned on what the team is after, what the organization is investing in. Now, once you've done your plan and you figured out what you want to do, you're going to do it, right? But don't do it in a silo. You're going to be this multitasking octopus, as you see here. And some of the things that we'd advocate for you to do is share and document what's working and what's not in this pilot. Share the learnings through, Slack channels, Teams channels. If there are even outside forums that you want to jump into, there's lots of people playing around with various tools. We highly recommend you join those. Explore governance opportunities and operational improvements by partnering with IT. Also assess as you're going through this, if this is even going well. Is it going well? Are other people using it? What's the sentiment from the team? Are they feeling empowered and enabled? To Emma's point earlier, think about what they're thinking about. If they're designers, don't try and make them feel like their job's being replaced by AI, but instead, hey, we can probably reduce the amount of image editing or reduce the amount of, illustrating this custom thing by utilizing AI. So really lean into what your team is looking for. And of course, tie everything back to cost savings and KPIs at the end. So I'll pass it to Emma for us to kind of close out for key takeaways of this session.
So as you can tell, Natasha and I are passionate about the topic and have lots to say. So I apologize. We've gone almost right to the end, and we have a few minutes for questions, but just want to leave you with 4 quick takeaways. So first off, understand the potential of AI in your day-to-day operations. That's both new things you could do with AI as well as the AI that may already exist within some of the tools you already use. Determine where you're at in your maturity and understand where that is and understand how you move to the next level and lean into that. Assess how ready you are and think about what you can do to get ready, and then just get started. Do a pilot, use the pilot as a way to not only learn, but also to share the capabilities with the organization and to build trust and build a business case. And I can't stress how important it is to think about that.